Well, the first thing is we have to all agree that we're in a current situation and trend that is unacceptable. And I don't know that a lot of people appreciate just how bad things might be, but we're going to spend some time in future modules on just how much money companies aren't making and what it means for bleak futures for a lot of employees. But we have to agree that we could do a lot better, and we're unhappy with the current situation. The second point is that we have to agree on the fact that we want to pursue high-performance service economics for everybody. Third point is, but to do that, we're going to have some basic education. We're going to have to be fluent with financial language. So when I say PBIT, profit, PBIT, profit before interest and tax, you know that's the same thing as operating profit, etc. We have to get in touch with the assumptions we have been operating under, a lot of them unspoken and actually flawed, and we're going to have to find new assumptions that we really understand in an articulated manner. We have to do new productivity plays, new responsibility sharing. We're going to start putting numbers everywhere, because if we are going to progress, we have to know measurably what's going on, and measurably our actions, our theories, our experiments giving us the new improved results we want. There'll be natural ranking from best to worst of profit centers, of different warehouse picking rates, of all kinds of things, of sales territories. That could panic some people, but we're going to find that that's actually a great tool for everybody to learn and get better. We're going to have to promise a certain amount of tough love, because free markets demand that. If we don't deliver for all of our 4 stakeholder groups, the best people in those stakeholder groups, they leave. They find somebody else to work with. We cannot have cross subsidies where some people are doing all the work, other people are coasting along, enjoying the show, and getting paid the same. It's possible that we may have to weed some losers to feed some winners. We may even close down some branches because they're just chronic losers and structurally, strategically not going to make it where they are. Those kind of things. But again, those I think are going to be minimal types of things if we're smart about how we can do. And really, instead of focusing on the tough part, I like to focus on the love part, where if we're smart about this, we all can be winners. So the upfront issues now for management are several. They're sort of like, well, wait a minute, Bruce. These people expect higher wages, but where's the productivity? How about if I say, look, you guys all work really hard. Do your old job, plus do some new stuff, and when we get better results, then I'll give you a raise. Trust me. In other words, we're asking the employees to be the risk takers in this venture. Conversely, the other way around is we could give everybody big raises and hope the productivity follows, and the company takes all the risk, and that's not viable either. It's going to be a shared process that we're going to have to go through to get there. There are a couple slides here that suggest if we pay more money, we can attract or turn on the talent in our people, so we get either better new people, or the old people become recommitted. And then by working on education productivity plays, we get premium output, point 3, and that then gives us premium profitability that gives us a return on our investment, point 1. So that would suggest that the company is going to be the risk taker here, not the employee. But I'm going to come up with sort of a middle path where everybody can share in the effort. Also, what's going to happen is when you start to measure numbers everywhere, you're going to start to find that handfuls, just a few customers are making all the money to subsidize a lot of losing customers, or some branches are enormously profitable and other ones aren't. Or some employees seem to be very, get there early, stay late, work their ass off. I mean, their personal identity and esteem is tied into the fact that, they work hard, they're the best. And there are people who think, well, that's not the way I'm wired. I kind of show up and look around and say, well, who's the worst guy? If he's on the payroll, then if I'm just a little better than him, that's job security. So a lot of people unconsciously tend to set their sights on the least productive person or department or branch and sort of play down to that. But if numbers go everywhere, then everybody says, oh my gosh, I didn't realize we could be so much better, and I'm willing to work a little harder. And I don't expect 90% of the employees to all become sort of obsessed achievers, but I do expect that a lot of people would say, hey, you know what? I could work a little bit more diligently, systematically, and so forth. And besides, I know what's in it for me. So I would say that, in summary, I don't want you to panic and think that we're going to have a lot of pain ahead here on this road. I will say that if you want to have big gains, you've got to make big changes. Big changes usually involve big pain, transformational pain. The trick is that we have the right plays, the right assumptions. We can make big changes with reasonable, manageable amounts of pain, and all along we realize that the sacrifice is well worth it. So if you just stick with me and watch the modules that come ahead as far as the productivity plays and the underlying new assumptions and so forth, I think we can get from the old contract to the new contract at a pretty good clip with not too much stress, and it's going to be well worth it. Trust me. In this module, I'd like to talk about stakeholder balance. And first, we've got to describe what a stakeholder is. And maybe if you thought about it, you'd realize that we are all stakeholders in different kinds of communal gatherings. We're stakeholders in our families. We're stakeholders in our church if we are active there. We're stakeholders in the United States. We're all citizens of a country. And, there is a commonwealth. In other words, if we all get together and cooperate, things are better than if we're by ourselves. That's what free market capitalism is. By all working and creating surplus and trade our surplus, we're actually better off than if we try to do all the things ourselves and be terrible generalists at everything. The problem with stakeholder systems, or creating commonwealth for everybody in the system, is some people may say, I'm going to look out for number one. Let everybody else do the work, and I'm going to try to take a free ride on everybody else. And if the takers start to be greater than the givers who are putting into and maintaining the system, then the system starts to liquidate, and it becomes kind of a vicious spiral. It's not a very happy scene. And you can see this happening in some third world countries as they start to collapse. Perhaps another way of looking at it is, in the long run, nobody involved in a stakeholder system can do better, do better than the whole system itself. So while we're all worried about ourselves, we have to sometimes look up and say, I've got to think about the greater good, the common good, the longer term commonwealth, otherwise there isn't going to be one. And of course we think about this from generation to generation, taking care of the planet. We're all a stakeholder in spaceship Earth, and what's going to be able to take care of our grandchildren and their grandchildren. And so we'd ideally like to leave things equal to or better than we inherit them. That's called stewardship. So let's look at the main stakeholder groups in a company. First of all, they're the employees. And if you said, notice the circle in the very middle, PAT. That does not stand for point after touchdown, but rather profit after tax. And for most distributors, that is the skinniest little number you're ever going to, can imagine. And we'll look at that later on in another module. But basically, if employees think about just themselves, they'll say, I want higher wages, better benefits, and I don't want any stress, and I want better hours, and I don't want to work as hard, etc. And this is going to be afforded from chests of gold in the CEO's office. Of course, it's a zero-sum game. It's going to take away from that profit after tax. Customers are saying, I want more service and I want lower prices. And if, of course, we give them what they want, we liquidate our profit after tax. Suppliers are suggesting what they like to do is raise their prices to us, cut back on their services and freight policies, etc., and make more money for themselves, but at our expense and our bottom line. And of course, shareholders are saying, wait a minute, I want a bottom line. I've put a lot of money into this business. I expect a return on my investment, which is what profit after tax is. So I'd like to see that go higher. So you see four groups. Really, if they were thinking short term just about themselves, they're going to eat that profit up, and there's going to be no company at all. Now what we've got to do is figure out how we're going to make, instead of having a vicious liquidation cycle, how we're going to have a virtuous expansion cycle. In other words, is it possible that the employees, by working smarter, can give customers better service value, but do it at a lower cost and get paid a little bit higher price? That would actually expand the bottom line, but it would also give customers, a value that they wanted. And then if that happened, the customers would buy more from us. If that happened, then suppliers are happy because they're selling more to us, and we're paying our bills on time because we're making good profits to put back in the business to have the working capital to pay the suppliers. And the shareholders are happy because they're saying, gee, I'm getting a decent return on my investment, so I'm going to put more money back into the business to create an expansion, which is going to be pleasing the employees because now they've got job security and even job growth potentials. So that's what has to happen. But to do that, all the employees are going to have to sign up to make a new set of productivity plays happen. Specifically, we're going to have to figure out how to measure, achieve, sell, get paid for basic service brilliance, which the entire section 3 of this video experience is about. And once we get that going, it tends to self-perpetuate itself, which would be a good thing. Now, here are a couple things to remember. First of all, you have to believe in community economics. In the long run, you can't do any better than the others. Secondly, we're going to have to get educated in high-performance distribution economics and plays. Then we're going to have to try to make it happen. And it turns out that we're not going to be able to do these great things for all customers. We're going to have to figure out one best niche of customers and tune our story for them and really own and dominate that niche. And once we've dominated one niche, if we want, we can go after another one. So just one at a time. We're going to have to expect, a personal payoff. In other words, if I'm going to put stuff into the system and there's going to be commonwealth, I expect my fair share. So the gives and the gets will balance out in the long run. Other things to remember are, on the get side, what are you going to get for what are you going to give? If you give, on the right-hand side, your heart, mind, and body wired into strategic plays and trying to grow profitability, then you'll be able to get premium pay. The company will be so effective for customers that you will have job security and job growth because customers are going to like you so much they're going to keep buying from you and buying more and telling their friends and so forth. You're going to, in order to change your skill set, you're going to have to be able to try new things, which means you're going to fail. All beginnings are tough. Every time you try to do something, you fall on your face. That's okay. That's how you learn. So we're all going to fall on our face forward and not worry about it. We're going to make what are called good mistakes, and we're even going to get praised for good mistakes in future modules. We'll find out about that. And we're also going to work not within our department, but across departments for the service processes that cut through departments, so the whole process team is on the same page and working together as opposed to departmental fights and scuffles that go on. And as a benefit, we're going to say, you know what? I'm on a team, and it's a winning team. It's like being on the Super Bowl team every day of your life, getting paid premium wages, and having bragging rights too. So what we want to do is keep those things in mind and hang in there and keep watching these modules, and we're going to get there.